Well, the biggest Cold War drill of all time, the Korean War drill. Yes, the big drill that was Korea. And I'm going to make a few videos about the Korean War drill because it really worked in with the nuclear hoax. And even today it still does. It's a perpetual hoax, a perpetual drill. And you just got to see the origin of it to know what a drill it is. And talk about numbers. You have June 25. The 25 rears its ugly head. And you wouldn't believe how many North Koreans invade South Korea. 135,000. The same as the death toll at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The same as the death toll at Dresden. 135,000. Yes, the same as the evacuation number at Chernobyl. Very interesting that all these places have 135. 135, of course, the inner angle of the octagon. That's the way you keep going around that angle and you'll stay in the octagon. Let's just listen to this.
It grew stronger, spies more numerous, and violence more prevalent along the border. This little peninsula wasn't big enough for both of them. The question was, who would draw first blood? At 4 a.m. on June 25th, 1950,
4 for the door, and then June 25th.
The armies of North Korea stormed across the 38th parallel, hoping to crush the South in one overwhelming offensive.
And the 38th parallel for an 11, I find that very interesting. Also the 888 idea there.
135,000 communists besieged.
See, 135,000 communists. And they say it twice actually.
A ragtag South Korean border patrol and steamrolled southward. At outposts all along the border, South Koreans and their American military advisors were overrun, caught completely off guard. The U.S. had deprived South Korea of weapons and ammunition, thinking it might invade the North and start a war. Syngman Rhee, the South's fiery and aggressive leader, had threatened to do so.
So all sorts of narrative they're beating up there. Anyway, the presence of the 135 following the 7 there is all I need to see. Little numbers in it, just a big drill, and it was all about developing the Korean peninsula. And it's bring the men and I'll bring the women. And now they no doubt have Koreans seeded with Russian and American blood, so they're a bit more malleable to the world order system. And of course, North Korea is a bit of a mystery country. It's one of these countries they seem to have on a bit of lockdown. They're definitely like, like a zoo, a travelling zoo, and it has different animals that treat some differently. Some it really boxes in there a bit more. But they're handy, of course. These rogue nations are really handy in the big scheme of fear factory and manipulating people's minds.
Armies of North were hoping to crush the South in one overwhelming offensive. 135,000 communists besieged a ragtag South Korean border.
So, on watching most of the documentaries on the Korean War, all we see is the typical stuff. Up and down hills, a few smoke bombs, a bit of a tank, a lot of wah-wah and filler. And this one was the classic. The guy says about now it's time for a snowball fight because there's nothing better to do. But of course, one thing is a very inhumane thing just the same, to be putting people in the weather like this. There's the full snow weather and they're all just around hanging there in fairly warm sort of clothing, but let's face it, it gets a bit wet and moist and whatever. Terrible conditions. So that is the really bad side of all this, the big Cold War drill. But listen to this bit here just for the fakery involved.
By late November of 1950, the United Nations forces were fighting for their lives, the police action that was supposed to produce fast results. The Chosun lay high in North Korean mountain country. By late November, the cold there was blistering. The temperature fell as low as 40 below zero, and 50-mile-an-hour winds made it feel even colder. Everything the troops touched turned to ice, engine oil, gun breeches, morphine, and even their own hands and feet. The ground was so frozen that digging a foxhole was out of the question. One pastime to keep the blood flowing was a friendly snowball fight.
You like that? One pastime to keep the blood flowing was a friendly snowball fight. Just shows you the stuff they've been throwing up. Okay, this is part one. I'll do a much more detailed video for a part two on the Korean War drill.